Housing crisis. It's worse than you think. Are you a foreigner trying to find a house in Portugal? Are you looking for a flat? In a posh area? Or in a historic part of the city? Perhaps something like this if you have deep pockets. Well, lucky you. Wish good luck to my channel by subscribing. Thank you kindly. For local residents, it's not quite the same. Let me explain. In this video, I will give you true facts about working and living in Portugal. The Portuguese housing crisis has been a growing concern in recent years, driven by several factors that have significantly impacted affordability and accessibility to housing for many residents. Number 1. Rising property prices. Over the past decade, property prices in Portugal, particularly in major cities like Lisbon and Porto, have skyrocketed. Okay, so you probably have heard of this already, but this surge is partly due to the increased foreign investment and the popularity of Portugal as a tourist destination. The influx of international buyers, often attracted by the country's Golden Visa program, has driven up demand, pushing prices beyond the reach of many locals. In Lisbon, you can easily find a one-bed flat to rent on the market for €1,500 a month. Now, if we think that the minimum wage in Portugal is currently €820, that rent price is... Yeah, that's it, I know. Obviously, not everyone working in Lisbon is on a minimum wage, but a large section of people employed in Lisbon work in the tourism sector that doesn't pay a great deal. Number 2. Tourism and short-term rentals. The rise of platforms that rent rooms online has led to a significant portion of housing stock being converted into short-term rentals. This trend has aggravated the shortage of long-term rental properties and driven up rental prices. Popular tourist areas have seen an uneven effect, with locals being priced out of neighborhoods that have become tourist hotspots. Right, so our economy depends immensely on tourists, but at the same time, it's hurting its people. There is a Portuguese proverb which is preso por ter cão e preso por não ter. In English, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Does this make sense? Number 3. Stagnant wages and economic disparity. Despite the rising cost of living, wages in Portugal have not kept pace. This economic disparity means that a large section of the population struggles to afford housing. Young people and lower-income families are particularly affected. Many find it difficult to move out of their parents' homes or secure affordable housing. No wonder they leave home when they are almost 30. Number 4. Limited housing supply. There is a shortage of new housing developments, if any really. Existing regulations can make it challenging to increase the housing supply quickly. Yes, there are new house developments, but expect prices to start at around €250,000 for a flat or €500,000 for a house. Urban planning policies are not effective in addressing the needs of a growing population and changing market dynamics. If we think that there are about 700,000 abandoned houses spread all over the country, Number 5. Gentrification. The regeneration of urban areas has led to gentrification, where original residents are displaced by wealthy individuals, often leading to a loss of community and cultural identity. Surely this is not fair? We all know about the market, supply against demand, blah blah blah. This process is destroying families, is making people lose their community spirit, especially in historic neighborhoods. These have been redeveloped to cater tourists and affluent buyers. What is the government doing about all of this? Well, the government has implemented some rent control measures to protect tenants from excessive rent hikes. In 2023, the government implemented a cap on rent increases, meaning that landlords could only increase their rent by 2%, regardless of inflation. Guess what happened in 2024? Yep, you guessed it. The government decided not to implement this measure. As a result, rents have gone up by 6.94% in 2024. Another measure is the expansion on social housing programs, in order to provide support for the most vulnerable populations. Is this a good measure? Sounds good on paper, but what about the working class that struggles even when working a full-time job? Don't they deserve some help as well from the government? A third measure was to change the rules for the Golden Visa program, which grants residency to foreign investors. This is to steer investment away from high-demand urban areas to less populated regions, aiming to balance out the property market. A fourth measure is investment in urban regeneration that aims to improve infrastructure in less affluent areas. Will this work? Only time will tell. What are the consequences for society? The housing crisis has influenced demographic patterns. Younger generations are delaying leaving home and opting to live with their parents longer, which on its turn will have an impact on birth rates and an aging population. Yes, in Latin societies, offspring tend to leave home later than in northern countries. And no, Portuguese parents don't charge their adult children a monthly fee for their bedrooms. It used to be the case they stayed home until finishing university and then off they went. Now we don't see that anymore. Younger generations are leaving home very late. People are moving to suburban or rural areas where housing is more affordable. The trade-off for this decision is longer commuting and access to amenities, but certainly a more healthier and quieter pace of life. In some cases, they feel forced to move to another country altogether. And how do you explain that to your parents? Don't forget that Portuguese society is very much family-focused, so this isn't an easy decision. On the other hand, the gap between those who can afford to buy property and those who cannot has widened, leading to greater social inequality. Homelessness has increased, and housing insecurity has worsened, with more people relying on provisional or inadequate housing solutions. High housing costs can limit individuals' ability to move for better job opportunities, thereby restricting economic mobility and career progression. Many individuals and families resort to taking on significant debt to afford housing. This leads to increased financial instability and vulnerability to economic downturns. Did you know that some banks in Portugal will lend the money up to 90% of the value of the house? Mortgages can be approved for a maximum of a whopping 40 years. if the person is up to 30 years of age. Unfortunately, money doesn't grow on a tree. But if you are 30 and sign off a 40-year mortgage contract, you will be 70 by that time. Probably the retirement age will have increased 70 years by the way things are. Another devastating consequence is the effect on people's mental health. Housing stress and insecurity can lead to anxiety, depression, and other stress-related conditions. Overcrowded and inadequate living conditions can also negatively affect physical health, contributing to a higher incidence of illness and poor living standards. What can you do if you are struggling with housing costs? Create a detailed budget to manage expenses and save for housing-related costs. With a budget, you can visualize what your expenses are, besides the bigger ones that you can't escape from. Seek financial advice or speak to your bank or utilities providers if you are struggling to pay. If renting, try to negotiate longer lease terms with landlords for potential rent discounts. Explore housing options in suburban or rural areas where costs are lower. Would this work for you? Seek support from non-profit organizations that offer housing assistance, legal aid, and financial counseling. For independent consumer support and protection, DECO is a well-known association in Portugal. Stay informed. Remember to reach out for help when needed. Thank you for watching. Until next video, bye! Ciao!